Welcome everyone, Kostin here with a discussion about Zharr Nagrund in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires and how to easily, quote-unquote, take the city. Now keep in mind you will still need a pretty powerful army, but there are ways to make dealing with Zharr Nagrund far easier than it might have to be. One of the things you can take advantage of is the fact that although there are two armies and a really powerful garrison in the city itself, these armies are separate. So you can take advantage of that situation in order to draw out the defenders and obliterate them. Either obliterating all the armies outside of the city and dealing with the city itself, or what you can do is eliminate one of the armies and then bring a massive force, a stack, two stacks to deal with this. Because these are, like, one of the things to understand here, there's some fairly high-ranking units here, but the lords in charge of these armies, they're very low rank. They don't have really good skills. They start at rank 1, they're not really going to level up, and that's the one advantage you're going to have against them. Now, here's what I'm going to do. This is a campaign as Azag, it's turn 32, but you can do this earlier as Grimgor and as some other legendary lords. It's just a question of proximity. So, but it obviously works easiest with the greenskins. Like, one of the things you can do, by the way, is give your war army AI control, so that way you can bring not 40 troops in a battle, but 80 troops in a battle. But regardless, that's not important. What we're going to do here, like if you were playing this, like I'm using some other resolve mods, but you would probably want to fight this manually. Especially if you are not playing a ridiculous faction like the greenskins. Now this will work with a bunch of even low ranked armies, but you are going to have to fight. This is just a garrison. There's some decent units here, but just fight this battle. And what you want to do here is sack this settlement. It will start as a tier 3 settlement, keep that in mind. And then once you've sacked it, you want to withdraw. Now over here, not necessarily the best movement range, but what I am doing here, and just gonna toggle war, because I have sacked that settlement, this will trigger certain behavior from the AI. Like, I could hold that settlement and maybe get the AI to attack me, though there's actually relatively low chances of that. What instead I'm going to do is put these armies into ambush stance over here, so that the AI doesn't necessarily think I'm as strong, because like you can't get into a situation where the AI thinks you're a bit too strong to deal with. And then just end the turn after you've done everything else that you might have to do in a campaign. I'd recommend having at least 2 armies if you're going to do deal with this, even as the greenskins. So, next turn. So now, as you can see, Gorf the Cruel has moved his army over here into the Falls of Doom, and Zharr has also moved on Zharr Nagrund itself. And now I can just attack over here this army, and interestingly enough, he's also force march. If you want to bring more troops, yeah, just give these guys to AI control like these war armies. It's a neat little trick, and just take the settlement. You'll gain a lot of money, and now you've gone from having to deal with such a substantial force as before to something that's significantly more manageable. And that is the key really here towards dealing with Zharr Nagrund. And next up, we take the city itself. You can advance towards the city in ambush stance. Campaign victory condition, just easily dealt with over there. You can advance towards the city fairly easily, and even lure out Zharr if you put one of the armies, or you put multiple armies in ambush stance, and maybe leave an army with just one lord. You will take some attrition damage, but if you lure them into an ambush, or you lure them out of the city, they will be in a fairly vulnerable position. And mind you, in all this process, you'll gain a lot of experience. But basically, the key is you just want to deal with these armies one at a time. This will give you a tremendous amount of experience, especially if you're fighting multiple battles. Believe it or not, one of the keys to getting a lot of experience is actually if you fight a few smaller engagements, well, quote-unquote small in this particular case. But if you fight a series of battles as opposed to just one single big brawl. So now we're just going to deal with Zharr, either next turn, probably not next turn. Yeah, probably not next turn, but the turn after that. And if he actually moved to attack me here because he thinks he's powerful, then I could obviously take advantage of that situation. Or I'll just lay an ambush for him. So what I've done after that particular turn is I've moved Azag over here. The corruption has dissipated, by the way, so it's only 22 corruption because of my actions. And now these two armies are in ambush stance. Azag is in... Azag actually might just be the better choice to put in ambush. So over here we can see like the movement range, so we can see that he is in range. And we can... And this army right here, they can only see this army, and so they will attack. So let's see what they do. Either they attack and I wipe them out, or they don't attack and I wipe them out. Like, besieging Nagrund is a tricky proposition, of course, if there's 40 units inside there. But do note something here. You could have, like, I could have just attacked the Vale of Woe if I was coming in from the south, and or whichever settlement that the secondary army was in, fought it, instead of having to fight it in Nagrund, and then I could have dealt with the garrison separately. So in this case, it does seem that he didn't take the bait. It doesn't matter because we're just going to march over here, and yes, he is a formidable force over here that does hold the city, but yeah, with 3 armies, you should be able to win. Or, realistically, you can move your armies inch by inch and put them in a camp stance slower than, obviously, like if you're playing Skaven or something like that. You would probably have to take slower time here, but put secondary, tertiary army, besiege the settlement with 1 army, maybe the weakest army, because maybe the weakest army are the army where you can afford to take the most casualties, because obviously they're not going to replenish. And when this army over here sallies out, and it is a powerful force, when they do sally out, you defeat them, inflict significant damage, and then you should be able to take the settlement on next turn. Or you can show up with a significant enough force that you can auto-resolve it or just fight manually. AI control for Greenskin was, or if you're bringing more than 2 free stack, or more than 2 stacks, just giving one of those armies, especially with filler units this. When you take Nagrund, loot and occupy it, don't, as the Greenskins and I think some other factions, you do have a chance to just take the city at tier 5. And no barracks, unfortunately, inside the city, but all the same. And that is the key to taking Nagrund. Like, there's obviously more steps, especially if you're like, let's say, you know, you're playing Tretch, you're playing very early on, but basically every single faction that can reach Nagrund here, you're probably going to have a decent enough level. Like if you're playing Dwarves, you're going to have a bunch of Quarrelers, you know, and Dwarf Warriors, or Slayers if you're Ungrim. If you're Greenskins, you should have a Wa, and you should probably declare the Wa on Nagrund itself, because major faction, and apparently Wa's do stack. Not sure about that, but still, like, legend noticed that. So yeah, those are some of the choices, some of the ways you can deal with this situation in your favor in Nagrund, and take either a tier 4, or in this case, for instance, I actually got lucky. I'm not sure what the chance is, though, for Greenskins to capture a city like this, but yeah, I got lucky. Gonna get a rebellion, destroy the rebellion, get a ton of money, no problem whatsoever. Oh my, that's that is yeah, I'm fighting an interesting little war over here, though. To be fair, my armies here are substantially stronger than what might be thrown against me, so maybe I should abandon that. But regardless, that's all I had to say. Questine signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more. It is worth it in virtually every campaign to try and take it as quickly as possible. Once you've sorted other things, like as Grimgor, like Grimgor can take it the earliest because he can get a lot of armies and he's right next to the damn thing. But others can take it as well. I think like the hardest person, like the hardest it is for Kolek to actually take it. Simply because it takes him, at least very, very early on, simply because it takes him some time to, build up multiple armies in order to be able to pull it off. That's all. Stay tuned for more.